The sky above the planet Elara was calm. A soft blue glow lit the tall white towers of the alien city. The Elari, the native people of this world, stood proud and prepared. For the first time in history, they were about to meet beings from another star. The humans were coming, and everything had been planned for a peaceful welcome. Children held glowing flowers, and banners with human and Elari symbols danced in the gentle wind. The air buzzed with excitement. Elders in long robes stood near the landing site, speaking in quiet tones. Their voices carried hope. Hope for trade, for learning, and maybe even friendship. Far above, in orbit, the small human diplomatic ship moved slowly into position. It was smooth, silver, and peaceful looking. The Elari had seen images of it before. Their scientists had checked every part. Nothing dangerous, no secrets, just a team of human diplomats, ready to talk. When the ship landed, soft blue lights lit up its sides. A ramp slowly lowered. The Elari crowd stepped back as the doors opened. Out came 5 humans, all dressed in simple dark suits. Their faces showed calm smiles. The lead diplomat, a tall woman named Ambassador Lynn Carter, raised her hand in greeting. The Elari leader, Councillor Thalon, stepped forward and did the same. Cameras from both worlds recorded this moment. 2 species, so different, finally, meeting face to face. Ambassador Lynn spoke first. "We come in peace, from Earth, to learn, to share, and to build something better." Thalon nodded. "Welcome to Elara. We have waited for this day for many seasons." There was no tension in the air, no fear. The Elari had done everything to prepare. They had watched human videos, studied Earth languages, and even tasted human food sent ahead of time. Everything seemed perfect. Over the next hours, the humans were shown around the city. They visited the central tower, where they saw glowing trees that could sing in soft tones. They tried Elari fruit, which changed color when touched. The humans smiled, asked questions, and gave small gift stools, books, even a hand-drawn map of Earth's moon. Children from both species laughed together. A young Elari girl touched the human flag on Ambassador Lynn's jacket and smiled. "Your world must be big," she said softly. Lynn smiled back. "It is, but so is your heart." The Elari watched this kindness and began to relax. They thought, maybe these humans are truly peaceful. Maybe the galaxy was not as dark as they once feared. As the sun began to set, both groups gathered near the tall stone circle at the center of the city. This was the official place of unity. Here, both sides would sign the first document of peace. The Elari brought out the crystal tablet. The humans placed their seal beside it. Hands shook. Cameras flashed. The moment had arrived. Then something changed. A sound, faint, like a hum. It wasn't from the city. It came from above. One of the Elari scientists looked up, confused. "That's not the human ship," he said. "It's much larger." People turned their eyes to the sky. At first, it was just a shadow, long, wide, and slow. It covered the sun for a moment. The crowd went quiet. The laughter stopped. The object moved lower. It was massive, bigger than anything the Elari had ever seen in their skies, bigger than the human ship by far. It looked like a dark blade across the stars. The Elari whispered to each other. Some took steps back. The humans looked confused too. Ambassador Lynn spoke into her small wrist device. "That's not our ship," she said firmly. "We didn't call for backup." The shadow grew. Now they could see more giant metal arms folded along its sides, strange patterns etched on its hull. There were no lights, no message, just a silent presence in the sky. The crowd held its breath. Phelan looked at Lynn. "Is this part of your plan?" Lynn shook her head. "No, I don't even know what it is." The shadow slowly stopped above the city, not moving, not making contact, just watching. The sun tried to shine around it but failed. Darkness sat over them. Some children cried softly. Elders looked up in fear. The peace that had filled the city only minutes ago now felt thin and breakable. A soft wind blew, but no one moved. No one knew what this ship was, or why it had come. Then, at the edge of the sky, a single soft flash blinked on the side of the massive ship. No sound followed, just silence, and the heavy weight of a question no one could answer. What had they just awakened? Asterisk. The shadow in the sky did not move. It floated above the alien city like a quiet, watching mountain. People on the ground stood still, eyes wide, breaths shallow. The celebrations had stopped. Flowers lay forgotten on the ground. The glowing lights that once danced with joy now flickered. Uncertain. Ambassador Lynn Carter kept her voice steady as she spoke into her communicator again. This is Earth Diplomatic Vessel 12, requesting full ID scan of the unknown object. Overhead. Repeat. We have no record of this ship. There was no reply, only a low hum, like a far-off storm. Elari scientists rushed into their observatories. Machines beeped softly as they scanned the unknown ship. Numbers appeared on crystal. Screens too large, too advanced, too quiet. It didn't match any design the Elario humans knew. One of the scientists whispered to Thalen, "It's not broadcasting any signal, no message, no energy spikes. It's just there." Ambassador Lin looked up, shielding her eyes. "That's not human, at least not something we control anymore." The ship's surface was strange. Its design was smooth in some parts, sharp in others. It looked like it had grown, not been built, like it had been sleeping for a long time, deep in the dark, and only now returned to the light. Then a soft light glowed on the underside of the ship. A single shape began to lower round and flat, almost like a silver seed. It floated down, without sound, stopping above the city square. The people didn't run. They didn't know if they should. Nothing had attacked. No force was used. But the fear was real. The silver object stopped about 50 feet in the air. A ring of soft blue light pulsed around it. Slowly, a symbol appeared underneath something neither human nor Ellery had ever seen. "What does it mean?" Thalen asked, voice quiet. Lynn shook her head. "I don't know. It's not any Earth language. Maybe it's a code." Suddenly, a voice came through every device in the city, every communicator, speaker, and even through the crystal towers that normally shared music and news. The voice was not human, not Ellery. It was smooth, slow, and deep, like a memory speaking. "Observe. Evaluate. Determine threat level." The voice stopped. Then silence returned. Lynn stared at the silver object. "This isn't a visit. It's a test." In the city's control room, a young Ellery technician discovered something strange. He pulled up a hologram of the object and matched its signal to old star records. What he found made him stop. "This ship," he said slowly, "it matches a pattern found on a broken satellite. One we found near a dead planet." Thalen turned to him. "That satellite had no markings." "Yes," the technician said, "but it was human-made, from Earth's early deep space missions." Lynn's face turned pale. "Wait, are you saying this ship was built by us?" The technician nodded. "Maybe not by you, but by someone long before your time. That idea changed everything. A human ship lost, forgotten, maybe even abandoned, had returned. But something had changed it. This was not a simple tool. This was a watcher, and it had chosen to come now." Lynn opened her private channel to her ship in orbit. "Send full data back to Earth. Tell them we may have found a lost asset, or something worse." Back on the ground, the silver object began to move again. It floated across the square, scanning buildings, trees, people. Everywhere it went, the same soft ring of blue light glowed beneath it. Then it stopped above a child, a small Elari girl who had dropped her flower earlier. She looked up, eyes wide, but didn't move. The light scanned her. A soft tone played. Then the voice returned. Emotional pattern. Curiosity. No threat. Observation complete. The girl blinked. The crowd exhaled together. The object moved again, slowly, gently, like it had made a note. Lynn spoke quietly. "It's not just scanning us, it's judging us." Thalen nodded. "And what if it finds something it doesn't like?" They both looked back at the sky. The giant shadow still hovered above, silent, heavy, waiting. Then another soft light blinked on its surface. This time it formed a line like a timer. Numbers appeared beneath the ship, glowing in pale red dot. It was counting down. Lynn stared at the numbers. "We have no idea what happens when it reaches zero," Thalen replied. "Then we must find out what it wants, before time runs out." Above them, the warship watched, not speaking, not threatening, just waiting, and the whole planet held its breath. In the quiet hours that followed the mysterious signal, the city of Alara became a place of deep reflection and hushed conversation. The brilliant twilight softened every feature of the grand alien architecture, and the gentle hum of the visitors' devices intertwined with the soft murmurs of the crowd. People from both worlds, humans and Ellery, found themselves drawn into discussions about the silent ship overhead. its strange symbols, and the soft, rhythmic glow that seemed to pulse like a beating heart above them all. Inside a modest meeting hall with wide glass windows, Ambassador Lynn Carter sat with a small group of human scientists. Their faces, lit by the soft glow of data screens, showed careful concentration as they examined every detail of the information streaming from the ship. John, one of the lead scientists with kind, thoughtful eyes, spoke in a hushed tone. "It is as if the ship waits for us to speak a language it already understands, but the words we know do not seem to make it respond." His gentle observation set the tone for a conversation that was more about wonder and the shared joy of discovery than about fear. At the same time, in a sunlit courtyard under the calm watch of crystal towers, the scholars of the Alari gathered. Their leader, Sarah, known for her calm wisdom and soft-spoken words, suggested to her colleagues, "Let us look to the ancient records, the old stories we tell our children when the nights are long. Perhaps the symbols we see mirror those lost in our legends, whispers of a time when the stars themselves spoke to us." Her suggestion was met with nods and thoughtful expressions, as the Ilari slowly began to draw connections between the gentle symbols displayed by the ship and the patterns recorded in their oldest texts. In the open air of the city's main square, a variety of voices rose in conversation. An elderly human, whose years of experience traveling the distant reaches of space lent a certain quiet authority to his words, recalled a memory from his youth. "I have seen the cosmos in many forms," he said softly, looking upward. "But never have I witnessed such a calm mystery. This ship carries the weight of ages, not threats. It carries the hope of questions that have yet to be answered." His words resonated with many who stood nearby, prompting them to consider that the ship's arrival might be a call to explore deeper truths about their place in the universe. Children, too, played a quiet role in this unfolding mystery. A small, Ilari girl, having paused in her earlier game, watched with wide eyes as a gentle light from the ship traced slow paths over the ground. Her curiosity was unburdened by fear. Even as the adults exchanged theories and soft concerns, she spoke. In her innocent voice, "Maybe it is here to teach us something new, like a storyteller from long ago." Her simple thought reminded everyone that sometimes the beauty of a mystery lies not in its danger, but in the possibility of learning and growing together. The day wore on with careful deliberation. Lynn and her team continued to gather data, piecing together the symbols and soft numeric patterns that appeared on the underside of the ship. Each symbol was examined, each pulse recorded. With every new piece of information, the human scientists began to piece together a picture of an object that was both ancient and purposeful, a silent messenger from a time when ideas were as vast as the universe. The team's discussions were filled with a quiet excitement, one that came not from the rush of discovery, but from the deep sense of connection that grew with every shared insight. Meanwhile, the Ilari scholars retreated to their favorite place of quiet reflection, a circular garden where the soft scent of blooming flora mingled with the cool air. There, they discussed the symbols, recalling stories passed down through generations that spoke of cosmic events and gentle visitors from the unknown. They believed that every symbol had a story, and that this silent visitor was perhaps a keeper of memories too dear to be forgotten. In time, a kind of unspoken agreement grew between the two worlds. Both the humans and the Ilari began to see the mysterious ship not as an omen of uncertainty, but as a bridge, a link between past traditions and future discoveries. They recognized that the questions it posed were a challenge to be met with empathy, reason, and patience. The countdown of numbers on the ship had become a shared reminder of the limited time they had to understand this new message. Yet it was also a call to work together in harmony. The soft rhythm of the ship's light, the symbols that glowed gently across its surface, and the quiet voice that occasionally filled the air, all became part of a larger conversation, one that spoke of curiosity, respect, and the endless journey towards knowledge. In that shared moment, beneath the watchful eye of the silent visitor, every individual felt that they were part of something larger than themselves. They realized that some mysteries are meant to be solved, not in haste, but in the tender, deliberate search for wisdom that spans generations and galaxies. And so, as twilight deepened into a gentle night, the citizens of Alara and the visiting humans remained united in their quest for understanding, bound together by the simple truth that every question, no matter how mysterious, could lead to a new chapter of learning and growth in a universe full of gentle wonders. The next morning arrived quietly, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. A soft silver light touched the tall towers of Ilara, and the skies were still filled with the shadow of the strange ship above. It had not moved since it arrived. The countdown on its hull continued, glowing faintly in the sky, reminding everyone that time was passing. But it hadn't done anything harmful. Not one building was touched. Not one sound of anger or threat had come from it. And yet, the calm was uneasy. In the center of the city, under the gaze of the ship, people gathered once more. They weren't there to panic. They came to observe, to understand, to stand together. Ambassador Lynn Carter stood with Counselor Thalen. Between them, a small circle of human and Ilari engineers worked quietly with machines, trying to match the patterns of the countdown and the ship's glowing signals. So far, no answer. The symbols didn't match any known code. They moved like a rhythm, like a message hidden in music. Then, without warning, a quiet hum passed through the air. Not loud, not sharp. It was like the wind had learned to sing. Everyone stopped moving. Eyes turned upward. From beneath the giant ship, a new shape slowly began to descend. It was smaller than before, much smaller. A sphere the size of a chair, smooth, metallic, and silent. It floated gently until it reached the edge of the square. Then it paused. The surface of the sphere shimmered, and something new happened. A single line of light stretched out from the sphere, like a soft beam. But it didn't point at the people. It moved across the buildings, over the ground, and along the statues standing in the city's memory circle. It scanned them slowly, as if looking for something forgotten. One of the Ilari elders stepped forward. Her voice was calm. "It's searching through our history." Lynn nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe it wants to know who you are, who we are." Before it decides anything, the sphere moved again. This time, it floated closer to the memory garden, a peaceful place filled with glowing plants, floating crystals, and silent fountains. There, it paused once more. The beam of light stretched out and touched a tree with blue leaves. The moment it touched, the tree's light changed color. It turned white. Then the beam disappeared. The sphere backed away. Then, for the first time, it made a sound, a single, soft note, like a chime in a dream. Then another. Slowly, the notes formed a pattern. The Ilari scholars gathered around quickly. One of them, a young student named Arian, listened carefully. "These sounds," he said, "they matched the old melodies. From the songs we sing to our children, songs about stars, about the sky calling us, the humans listen to." One of the engineers smiled. "That melody, we have something like it in Earth's ancient music, a lullaby from before space travel." Both species looked at each other. The same melody, from two different worlds. "What does it mean?" Thalen asked. Lynn looked up at the floating sphere and whispered, "Maybe it's telling us we're not so different." The sphere, almost as if it had heard her, floated slowly toward the central square once again. It stopped near the fountain, above a smooth platform. Then its surface shimmered and formed an image. Not words, not numbers, a picture. Everyone leaned closer. The image was of a star system, neither Earth's nor Ilara's, but both human, and Ilari scientists recognized parts of it. It was an old, quiet system, far from the main travel paths, a place forgotten by most. Next to the star system, the image showed something else, a circle. Inside it, lines, waves, patterns. Lynn narrowed her eyes. "It's a map." Arian nodded. "And those lines, those waves, their emotions." Thalen looked puzzled. "How can a machine show emotions?" Arian replied softly, "Maybe it doesn't feel them, but maybe it remembers them." The sphere showed one final image, a planet broken, quiet, abandoned, pieces of metal scattered across its surface, a city, but ruined. Still, one thing stood tall in the middle of it all, a structure that looked exactly like the floating sphere. Lynn stepped forward. Her voice was calm but steady. "It came from there. That planet, it's all that remains. And now, it's watching us, trying to see if we're the same as those who built it." The sphere gently floated up again. Then it returned to the silent space beneath the giant ship, merging with its shadow. The countdown continued, slower now. Somehow, the ship had accepted something. Not fully, not yet, but it had shown its past. It had opened a door. The people below looked at each other not with fear, but with deep thought. If this ship was the last voice of a forgotten world, then what would it say about this one? and would they be ready to listen? The city did not sleep that night. Lights stayed on across every building, and quiet voices filled the halls of both Elari and human shelters. Though no threat had come from the ship, the sense of mystery pressed on everyone like a soft but heavy fog. The countdown on the ship's hull continued slower than before, but never stopping. It had passed through half its cycle now. Inside the grand dome of learning, the brightest minds of both species gathered once more. The room was shaped like a star, with light gently falling from the ceiling in calm patterns. The air inside was quiet, filled with the soft hum of data projectors and floating symbols. Ambassador Lynn Carter stood beside Counselor Thalon, watching a large display in the center. It showed the same ruined planet that had appeared from the sphere's image. Around it, the last transmission replayed. Waves of emotion, star maps, the melody of old songs from both Earth and Elara. Everyone listened again and again, trying to feel what the machine had felt. It doesn't speak with words, Lynn said softly. It speaks with memory, with feeling, with what it sees in us. Thalon nodded slowly. Then what has it seen, and what is it still looking for? The young Elari student, Arian, who had first recognized the melody, stepped forward. I think it's testing our hearts, not our strength, not our science. It wants to know what kind of people we are when we don't understand, when we are unsure. Across the city, people were beginning to change how they reacted to the ship. At first, it was fear, then confusion. But now, something gentler had taken root: curiosity. In parks, children drew pictures of the silver sphere. In schools, teachers asked students how they felt when they saw the light from the sky. And everywhere, stories were shared, old legends, new dreams, some from Earth, some from Elara. Even the engineers, once focused only on data, began to explore emotion through their work. A human linguist created a poem using only the light codes of the sphere. An Elari artist painted the countdown, using soft glowing ink, showing each number as a layer of time, memory, and connection. One small group believed that the countdown was not a warning at all but a moment waiting to be filled, a message waiting to be answered. If that was true, then they needed to give the ship something it would understand. So, a plan was made, quietly, carefully, not a machine, not a signal, but a moment. On the open platform where the silver sphere had once floated, a new circle was built, half human materials, half Eliari crystal, simple in design, but meaningful. A symbol of unity, built not for defense, but for understanding. At its center, they placed two small memory stones, one from Earth, one from Elara. Each stone held images, sounds, voices, and dreams from both worlds. It was not a history lesson, it was a gift, a message that said, "This is who we are when we are not afraid." As the sun rose again, gentle light brushed across the platform. People from both species stood nearby, not speaking, only watching. The ship above remained still. The countdown continued. Then something happened. The same gentle hum returned. The sphere reappeared, slowly lowering from the sky. This time it stopped directly above the circle. It hovered silently, then released a thin thread of lights and white. It touched the memory stones gently. Everyone waited. The ship did not speak, but the sphere began to change. Its surface shimmered, and suddenly, the soft melody returned, but this time, it was joined by something new. Voices. Not words, just voices. Human and Elari, laughing, singing, whispering to children, reading stories, calling out in joy. It had heard them. It had accepted the gift. The countdown stopped. A moment of stillness filled the city. The sky glowed with a warmth that had nothing to do with sunlight. Then, from the ship above, a light passed over the city, not sharp, not loud, just a soft wave, like the final note of a song that lingered long after it ended. The ship did not leave, it did not power down, but it changed. The giant shadow above slowly shifted. Lights moved across its surface in soft patterns. Shapes began to appear, symbols of connection, of shared paths, of two stars shining side by side. It was listening now, and maybe, just maybe, it was beginning to trust. The morning felt different. The usual calm of Elara was still there, the gentle wind through the high crystal trees, the soft songs from the skybirds, the faint hum of the city. But now, there was something else beneath it all, a quiet awareness that something important was about to begin. The ship still floated above the city, unmoving, yet no longer a silent watcher. Its surface glowed with shifting patterns, almost like it was thinking. The countdown had stopped the day before, but everyone knew that didn't mean the journey was over. In a quiet chamber beneath the grand dome, the decision was made. If answers were truly what they wanted, they would need to go closer, not just observe the ship from a distance, but step inside it. The humans had no control over it. The Elari didn't even know how to contact it, but there was a feeling, unspoken but shared, that the ship might be ready to open if approached not with command, but with honesty. Ambassador Lynn Carter stood beside Counselor Thalon as a small group was chosen, a human engineer named Elias, known for his calm thinking, and an LRI historian named Cyril, gentle in voice but deep in knowledge. They were not soldiers. They were listeners, observers, learners. As they walked to the platform where the silver sphere had landed days ago, the sky above shimmered faintly. The people of Elara watched in silence, and some quietly placed small memory stones along the path as a gesture of hope and safety. Then, without warning, a circle of soft blue light appeared on the ground in front of Elias and Cyril. Not bright, not sharp, it simply glowed, inviting. Elias took a slow breath and stepped forward. Cyril followed, her crystal robe catching the morning light. The circle pulsed once, and they vanished, but they did not feel fear, only a soft warmth, like stepping through water without getting wet. The world around them changed. They were no longer on the platform. They stood inside the ship. It was like nothing they had ever seen. Not metal, not stone. The walls curved like the inside of a growing shell, with gentle lights moving across them like waves on a quiet ocean. There were no buttons, no controls, no wires. Only motion, sound, and space that seemed to breathe. They stepped forward carefully. As they moved, the floor beneath them lit up, not brightly, but in soft paths like it was guiding them. Shapes on the walls shifted as they passed, forming memories, a human hand reaching out, an Elari child smiling, stars forming from dust. Cyril whispered, "It remembers everything." Elias nodded, "And it shows us what it wants us to understand." They entered a chamber with no corners, no ceiling, and yet it felt wide and safe. In the center, a single light floated, still and silent. Then the light split. One part became an image from Earth. Cities, oceans, people planting trees, helping each other, exploring. The other part became an image from Elara. Glowing fields, singing towers, stories told under the sky, hands raised in peace. Then both lights merged into one spiral of shared meaning. Elias reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a music stone from Earth, one that played a simple song. When touched, he placed it gently on the floor. Sorel took a soft crystal scroll from her robe and laid it beside the stone. It held poems from Elari, children written in soft light. The chamber glowed brighter. Then, from the walls around them, a voice began to form, not in words, but in emotion, a feeling that filled their minds with thoughts like, "You are not the ones who built me, but you carry the same power. They made me to judge, to protect, to remember." They vanished because they forgot what it meant to feel. "You remembered." Elias and Cyril stood still, hearts open. Then a final message came, not spoken, but understood. "I am no longer alone." The chamber faded slowly. Light returned to blue. The soft path reappeared beneath their feet, guiding them back. Moments later, they stood once again on the platform outside. The people waiting didn't ask what they saw. They simply knew, from the look on their faces, that something had changed. Above them, the ship shifted for the first time in days. Slowly, with grace, it turned not to leave, but to position itself above the sea that touched the far edge of Elara, as if it wanted to see the world more clearly. It had accepted the message, and now it was ready to show one of its own.